Aloha and good morning, members. Calling to order the Committee on Labor and Tourism. Today I'll be acting chair. So today is Tuesday, March 23rd, 10 a.m. Chair, would you please, acting vice chair, would you please read the committee rules?
Yes. This year, due to the pandemic, all hearings will be live streamed via Zoom. So please make sure the volume on your laptops and your phones are all turned to silent. We'll be hearing testimony in the following order: governmental, federal, state, county agencies, industry groups, then individuals. When you come up to testify, please state your name and agency that you represent. In order to allow for as many people to testify as possible, there'll be a two-minute time limit per testifier. Because morning hearings must adjourn prior to the noon floor session, not all testifiers may have the opportunity to testify. In that event, please know that your written testimony will be considered by the committee. Please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is completed. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with the technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you are disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a catastrophic network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin. Okay, Chair.
Thank you. The first bill today will be SB 1270, relating to the Workforce Development Council. It replaces the Director of Human Services with Administrator of Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, Department of Human Services, as an ex officio voting member of the Workforce Development Council. First to testify, we have Allison Tasaka from the Workforce Development Council. Go ahead.
Good morning, Acting Chair Sayama and Acting Vice Chair Onishi and members of the committee. I'm Allison Tasaka, Executive Director of the Workforce Development Council, testifying in strong support of this measure. It amends the statute, right, to comply with the federal regulations regarding the composition of our council members. The replacement of the Director of Human Services with the Administrator of the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation merely changes the positions and not the number of participants. There are currently 41 members of the council, of whom 29 are business executives and community and labor leaders, also representative from the House and the Senate, and 12 ex officio state and county representatives from the departments, including DOH, UH, the governor, the 4 mayors. So failure to amend this chapter will result in federal non-compliance, non-approval of the WIOA Hawaii Unified State Plan, and possible sanctions with existing federal funds. We do urge the passage of this measure to prevent potential loss of over $9 million at a time when resources to get people back to the labor market is most needed for the state's workforce and the economy. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you. Next, we have Department of Human Services.
Good morning, Chair. This is Maureen Bates from the Division of Vocational Rehab within the Department of Human Services. And thank you, Acting Vice Chair Sayama and Chair Onishi and committee members. DHS.
Excuse me, can you speak a little louder? The volume is not coming through.
Okay. The Department of Human Services stands on the testimony provided, and I am available to answer questions. Maureen Bates from the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation in the Department of Human Services. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Alan Hayashi from the Workforce Development Council Board. Go ahead. No. I guess we are having some technical issues. So Alan, please call out if you are able. In the meantime, we will continue. No further oral testimony is provided. We have several organizations in support as well as an individual, Brian Lee, in support. Members, any questions? Is Alan still there? No, okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the next measure. Next on the agenda, we have SB 628, SD2HD1, relating to the transition of the Oahu Regional Healthcare Systems from the Hawaii Health Systems Corporation into the Department of Health. It commences the transfer of the Oahu Regional Healthcare System in its entirety from the Hawaii Health Systems Corporation to the Department of Health, beginning with the transfer of the Oahu Regional Healthcare System's budget into the Department of Health. Enables the Oahu Regional Healthcare System, Department of Health, Hawaii Health Systems Corporation, and other state agencies to manage and implement the processes required to effectuate the completion of the transition. Authorizes the Department of Health to conduct long-term care and substance abuse treatment at Leahi Hospital and Maluhia, and to pay rent for the use of Leahi Hospital property. Requires the Department of Health to consult with the University of Hawaii regarding programs at Leahi Hospital and Maluhia. Clarifies the rights, powers, and exemptions of the Oahu Regional Systems Board during the transition period of the Oahu Regional Healthcare Systems into the Department of Health, and the rights and powers of the Department of Health after the transition is completed. Appropriates money from the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Special Fund. Authorizes the issuance of general obligation bonds. First, to testify, we have HTH Behavioral Health Administration. Go ahead. Okay. Next, we have Diane K. Tyra, Deputy Attorney General.
Good morning. I am Tyra, Deputy Attorney General. My department has submitted testimony offering just brief comments highlighting areas of policy considerations for the committee to consider. Otherwise, I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Calbert Young from the University of Hawaii.
Good morning, Chair. Members, can you hear me okay? The university has submitted testimony. We are supportive of the measure. Happy to stand on that testimony, and we'll answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll be returning back to HTH Behavioral Health Administration from the Hawaii State Department of Health. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. Apologies for being a little bit late. We stand on our written testimony and super strong support and available for any questions.
Thank you. Going back, we will have Sean Sanada from HHSC Oahu Region. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. Sean Sanada on behalf of the Oahu region of HHSC. We too stand on our written testimony in strong support of this measure. I will be available for any questions if the committee has any. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Randy Pereira, individual. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I apologize. The testimony should have been filed as Randy Pereira, Executive Director of the Hawaii Government Employees Association. You have our written testimony before you, which is offering comments on the content of the bill. However, I did want to identify we are respectfully requesting an amendment on page 27, line 3 by the deletion of 2 words of layoffs. And I wanted to note for the committee that both the Senate Committee on CPC and Ways and Means, as well as Health, had adopted identical amendments in the Senate version. So the prior iteration of Senate Bill 628, as well as its companion HB 1282, which was heard earlier last week. Thank you. I'd be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have a written testimony in support from the Queens Health Systems and comments from the State Procurement Office. Members, any questions? Go ahead, Representative Bellotti.
Thank you, Chair. This question is for the AGs, Rep. Tyra, Ms. Tyra. I would characterize your testimony as pointing out some more just technical things that we have to consider, unintended consequences. And I'm wondering if, it seems like the broader policy issue of transfer of HHSC Oahu region to DOH is kind of something that we're all moving towards. And so if this list of potential unintended consequences, does the AG's office have a more detailed list of what that might be as impacted by the provisions on pages 34 and 35? And then if there's any language that we can put that would cover these concerns and provide the flexibility needed to accomplish the end goal, which is after this transition period that Oahu region is transferred into DOH.
Work on getting such a list to you by the end of the day.
Thank you. I think that would be very helpful. And I think this is something that should be discussed with, DOH as well as HHSC and then the regional board, just so that we're all on the same page. Because I think this is more, it's serious, but it's also more just technical things that we shouldn't allow to hold up this important bill.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any further questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to the next item in the agenda. HCR 14 and HR 14 will be taking these together. This is requesting a review of the efficacy of the technology resources of the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. First to testify, we have Ann Eustachio from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Committee of Labor and Tourism. We stand on our written testimony in support, and we're here for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you. We have written testimony from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs in support. There are no other testifiers. Members, any questions? Seeing none, we will be taking a short recess for decision making. Okay, I'd like to call this committee back to order for decision making. First, we have SB 1270. Members, I'd like to move this measure unamended, so as is. Any discussion? Seeing none, Acting Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, SB 1270. The recommendation is to pass unamended. Vice Chair and Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Belatti?
Aye.
Representative Hope?
Aye.
Representative Dale Kobayashi?
Aye.
Representative Quinlan excused. Representative Takayama?
Aye.
Representative Okumoto?
Aye.
Chair, your the bill is adopted.
Thank you. Next, SB 628, SD2 HD1. Members, I'd like to add language to insert the Department of Health as the expending agency for the appropriations of the GEO-bond proceeds for improvements at Leahi Hospital and Maluhia. We'll also be adopting the testimony from the HGEA, omitting the term or layoffs on page 27, line 3. And we're going to be making technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll be moving to the vote. Vice Chair?
Yes, on SB 128, SD2, HD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the attendance of all members except for Representative Quinlan, who's excused. Are there any with reservations? Any no's? Chair, your recommendations adopted.
Thank you. We'll be moving on to the final resolution. HCR and HR will be taking these both together. For amendments on page 1, lines 4 to 5, we're going to delete the language is fragile and slow with technology so obsolete that it predates using a mouse, and insert its place upgraded about 5 years ago to reflect the recent upgrades that DLR had. We'll also be changing the year on page 1, line 8 to 2022. Also making technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, Acting Vice Chair for the vote.
Yes, HCR 14, HR 14, recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the absence of, the excused absence of Representative Quinlan. Members, any reservations? Any no votes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you for your participation, members. This hearing is adjourned.